Hey everybody, I hope you guys are doing good, staying safe and healthy during our next week of quarantining. So this week we're going to be talking about 4 ways to pre-write and plan for a research paper, or in your guys' case, a research Google Slides presentation. So before we jump into that, we're going to do a little bit of reviewing of what we learned last week and what we need to remember moving forward. So first off, what are academic articles and journals? So these are going to be your sources that are peer-reviewed, credible, and scholarly. This is going to be where you're finding your quotations and what you're building your commentary off of in order to support the claims of your paper. And where do you find these? Through academic databases. So one of the main ones I know you guys are going to be using is KYVL. Some others are Google Scholar, JSTOR, or EBSCOhost. If you need a refresher on how to access those academic databases, refer back to the video that Ms. Tinch uploaded last week. It has a lot of great information on how to narrow your source searches to find the papers that will best help support your topic. And then finally, what is the purpose of the annotated bibliography that you are creating? This is to give your readers an idea of what sources you used, how you use them, why you use them, and are they credible. For a refresher over the main things you need to include into those annotated bibliography paragraphs, look back at the abbreviated guide I posted last week. It's only about 5 minutes, and it'll give you a good refresher over what we're looking for here to get a good grade on this annotated bibliography. So the goals of this week is to outline your research paper with specific quotations from articles. So at this point, we're going to be starting to look for our evidence from these scholarly articles. So you need to make sure that you really have your topic nailed down because we don't want you guys to be doing a lot of research that you can't use. So by this point, you really want to know exactly what you're looking for. Make sure you're interested in it and make sure that your scholarly source searches show you that there's enough information out there. And we want to have at least 2 more sources added to the annotated bibliography here. So one of the really cool things about humans is all of our brains work differently. So all of our writing styles are a little different as well. That being said, we want to give you guys options here for how you're going to do this pre-writing. We want to give you 4 different options for you to choose from and just kind of figure out what works best for your learning style and your writing preferences. That being said, each of these different outlines are going to have the same meat to them. So the same information is going to be required of you and the same amount of work is going to be required of you. It's just a matter of which way you think you can best incorporate your ideas and what will make this writing easiest for you. The first option is going to be your traditional outline. So this is probably the most familiar outline pre-writing style, and it's going to resemble the format of a future paper. So I know that you guys aren't going to be transforming this into an official paper, but in the future, if you choose so, whether that's for a college writing class or just to add to your portfolio, this is going to be a great way to transition from paper to formal research. So an example of what this traditional outline is going to look like is going to be very familiar to you guys. So you're starting with your introduction where you're going to bring up your hook, transition to that thesis, and then state that thesis. The thesis is hands down the most important part of this outline. The thesis is kind of going to be your roadmap for the rest of the paper. So each point of that is going to branch out into your main ideas. For each of your main ideas, you're going to have that quote, some commentary, a second quote, and more commentary. And that's going to be repeated for each of these 3 main ideas. So this is where you're going to be incorporating those sources. Finally, you're going to end with an idea of your conclusion where you summarize those main ideas and connect back to that introduction. You might be looking at this and thinking, wow, that's a lot of work. Our goal for these outlines is that by the end of it, you're going to have a good amount of your final product finished. So if you do a great job on these outlines, which I know you will, you should be able to move into the final writing step with ease, where you're just kind of transferring this information and touching it up and just adding a little bit more detail. The second option for this is to do a Google Slides outline. So this allows you to incorporate technology into the planning process, which is always fun, and you can easily integrate source links for easy access. The good thing about that is if you're still in the middle of finding what sources you want to use and you're not nailed down on all of them yet, having that quick URL to click back on is much more useful than having to write out the exact citation format so that you can go back and forth to these sources and relook at the quotes you're going to be using later. Also, since this is going to be transferred into a Google Slides presentation sort of research, this is probably going to be an easy way to transfer that information. So once you create your Google Slide outline, all you'll really need to do is make a copy of that and then go back in and add more detail to each of those slides. So the Google Slides outline example here, you'll see that it's the same information from that traditional outline. It's just spread out into different slides. So what makes this topic important? And again, what is your thesis statement? So it's all going to be surrounding that thesis statement. You're going to go back into your main idea where you're going to state that claim, have that quote, and that commentary. And then you're going to do it again and one more time. And then finally, you're going to go back to that conclusion where you're summarizing these main points and connecting. So as you can see through this example, each of these outlines have that same information. It's just a matter of what it looks like. Your third option is the documented conversation. So this one does look a little different, but it's still a great choice. So this allows for a casual flow of ideas, and also it gives you immediate feedback. Because this documented conversation, you guys are going to actually be speaking with Miss Tench or me. So if you choose to use the documented conversation outline, you guys are going to schedule with a conference with Miss Tench where you're going to talk through these main points. So when you enter that conference, you're going to have this filled out. So you're going to have your thesis, those main ideas with the quote and explanation, as always. And we're going to be able to talk to you and figure out the kinks or the successes of this outline. So this is great if maybe you're going into this with not nailed down ideas and you just need a little bit more feedback. So this is a great way to get that immediate critique and, get that review right away. And it's also unique and a chance for us to see your faces, which we always love. And the final example is mind mapping. So I think that you guys have done mind mapping before in Miss Witt's class. I'm not positive. I think I heard that. So this is going to give you that visual representation of your thought process. And another fun thing about this is it can be done electronically or on paper. So that's just up to you. If you choose to do this on paper, you would just scan it and upload it as a PDF. I like to do these electronically just because my handwriting is awful and I like to be able to use colors and things. So here's an example of what this mind map would look like. It's still the same information. You're going to start with your topic and branch out. You'll have an introduction and your thesis. Each of your main ideas will branch out with your quote and commentary. I like to, with my mind maps, have each idea kind of centered around a color so that it looks more separated and you can remember exactly what each topic has. But it's still the same information. You're still going to have three main ideas, a thesis, your quotations, and commentary. So as you guys can see from each of these examples, whichever pre-writing strategy you use, you're still going to get the same useful information and figure out the same ideas of how to incorporate your sources into your research paper. So go through and think about which of these ideas can best fit your learning preference. One more time, we have the traditional outline, the Google Slides outline, the documented conversation, and the mind mapping. Regardless of what you choose, be sure that you're thinking about your thesis and how you can best use those sources to support it. Good luck with your guys' pre-writing. I'm super excited to see the products that you guys are able to produce, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.